Facebook, and YouTube. We are live. Good morning. Good morning. It is Saturday morning, and I am super excited today to be patterning a Valentine's Day shirt. Hi, I'm Christina, and I love to digitally apparel pattern. Before we get too into that, I'm going to double check to make sure it looks like everything is working. So just give me a second. I am streaming with StreamYard. So if you are asking a question either on Facebook or YouTube, definitely make sure that you give StreamYard permission to use your name so that I can see your name. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. It'll come through to me as anonymous though, and I'll still try to answer your questions. So like I said, I'm Christina, and I love to digitally apparel pattern in Adobe Illustrator. And today I'm going to be drafting my Valentine's Day shirt that I'm hopefully going to have come out in early February. So let me pull up my computer screen. There we go. Computer screen's up. Oh, and I have a little bit. Let's move that off onto my second screen and zoom way close in so you guys can see what we are drafting. So I have this fun fabric that I bought sometime last year. It's a really pretty maroon red. And at the same time, I found this really beautiful two-toned lace. I'm not sure that's going to come across very well in the pictures and video, but I'm super excited to be patterning this shirt with a heart cut out in the back that will be completely covered in lace. Now, the other thing that I have to worry about is I only got scraps of this fabric, so that's always fun. So I have to make sure that it fits within a yard of fabric. So having that cut out actually doesn't help anything, but what I think I'm going to do, depending on how it's laying out once we get to the layout on the fabric of this drafting, I'll see if the sleeves are going to go more towards going into the lace, or maybe I'll change it up and have like a tiny little cap with the thing. So I'm not fully set on the sleeves right now, but we're going to try a few different things. So let's get patterning. I'm going to take a quick sip really fast. So minus. So I'm going to pull up my sloper pattern. With this sloper pattern, I drafted this by my measurements. You can also get basic sloper patterns in Adobe Illustrator. Then you can kind of figure out which one's the closest to you, print it out, sew it together, double check it, and then readjust it so that it does fit your measurements perfectly. And the other thing I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to thicken up these lines so that hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for you guys to see what I am doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create the princess seam and neckline. So I want a very sweetheart-esque neckline. So what I'm going to do is pen out where I think my new neckline will want to be. And I'm just going to adjust that to a little bit longer. And I'm going to lower that just a smidge because, you know, Valentine's Day. You got to show off the ladies sometimes. There we go. Yeah. So then I'm going to get a princess seam going. So I'm going to go for a dart right up at my bust point, which I did not transfer over from my sloper, but that's okay. So we're just going to we're going to bring that up a hair, bring that down a hair, and now we're going to do a pivot. Now you don't have to do a pivot, but I sometimes find when I'm making princess seams, I like to do a slash and spread, or a privet. It's not a slash and spread, a pivot of my thing. So I have a nice, they're not super close together, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now we're going to cut that line, and we're going to cut at that intersection. We're going to get one front there. And we're going to rotate. Do, 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 do. There we go. And that is basically that front privet, and I'll retrace it to have the princess seams. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a mark. I should actually move that. We're going to remove this dart from my shoulder seam so that because I think it's going to be a little bit longer than, I think what I have drafted here is going to be a little bit longer than where that dart is. And I want to close it up anyways. So we're going to grab it and we're just going to rotate it in. Before I do that, I want two of those. Hold on. I want two of these lines so I can always see where where I was and where I'm going. I always like to have those two lines. And let me bring that over just a smidge. There we go. And then when we retrace everything to create the actual pattern, what we'll want to do is we'll just smooth that out and through. Next, I'm going to regroup those together so that I can get a marking. Line that up. And we're going to twist around. Yep, just like I thought. And we're going to pen that in. Then I want to make sure I get that guy because I want him to travel with this pattern. But I'm going to make him come, whoops, grab that guy, grab him. And now we're going to rotate till he's back upright. And that'll just give us that guideline of where we are actually starting our neckline. Since I moved my neckline out from the very high point of my neck out just a little bit to give it a nice sweetheart neck, that is one of those things you want to do. So then I'm going to pen in. I'm going to keep a pretty high neck back because I want, make sure that's flat. I want to make sure that that is, make sure that gets thickened. I want to make sure I have plenty and plenty of room to get that heart in the back of my garment. Next, let's see here. Let's go look at my design. I did not put any design lines on my center back. And I'm kind of debating because the fabric has a little bit of stretch, so I could probably get away with moving but I'm also debating. This is always the fun part of design analysis when you are trying to recreate something either from your head or from a quick sketch that you did. And then when you're actually patterning it, you kind of go back to your original thinking. It's like, well, what was I originally thinking when I rendered this versus what do I actually want to do with my pattern? If you are working with designers or if you're working with somebody else who patterned it, you have to stick much closer to the picture unless you are talking with them to get it going to whatever you want it to be. But since I was the one who rendered this one, then I can make decisions kind of on the fly to decide what I want to do. So one thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my heart first. So if I go up here, make that pull out just a little bit more. And down to the waist. Because what I could do is add a princess seam in the back, which could be a very nice little touch. And then when I'm trying to piece it together, when I'm cutting out my fabric, it can be easier to piece two pieces around instead of trying to piece multiple or one large piece. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually put a center back princess seam so it kind of matches the front. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this. So first you got to cut apart your pattern. Oh, wrong one. Gotta get the right pattern that I want to cut highlighted. And I want 2 of you. And it's still grouped together. So you have to make sure to ungroup it, because if you leave it grouped together, what it will do is it will just move everything instead of what you only want to do. Actually, you'll always be able to tell because it will highlight everything. And you know that's not what you want. So then I want that one and this one. And we're going to rotate. Just a little bit to pop that right off there so that you know where you're going to be rounding out your corners. And that will be the top half of my shirt. So I have a shirt here with a nice little waist belt that will hit right at my natural waist to have a cute little peplum that will then flare out from there. So let me go back. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm actually going to trace my pattern pieces. So we're going to go anchor point. Oops. Control Z is your friend. Edit, undo, edit, undo. And then I am going to just put anchor point right at that point so I know where it is and get a nice curve going right up here. And it looks like I did a little bit too much of a curve. It's okay. There we go. And then we're going to pen the other one. I'm going to start actually down here, go up. We're going to get an intersect. That did pretty good. Now I'm going to go like 3/4 down this line, and then I'm going to go to that point. Again, another 3/4. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. When you're actually doing that anchor point there, you could drag and drop and have it automatically go. I sometimes like to have it fully done out, and then you can actually pull it in so it has a nice little curve right there. And then that's why I have the anchor points that are 3/4 of the way from there, just so that you have that nice little bit. Now, I probably pulled it just a little bit too far. So I'm going to release that just a little bit. But that way, because you have those other anchor points that are there, you can definitely not ever go too far. So that is my 2. Oh, let's see if I can grab both of them. Not that way. We want to grab both of them on the correct one. There we go. So that is my center front piece, which will be on the double, and my side front piece that will create that princess seam. So now we are going to move on to the back bodice. And I'm again going to just start there and retrace around. And like I said, we're just going to smooth that transition for my arm's eye where I got rid of that dart 3/4 of the way down at the anchor point and around, because this one, since it is kind of sharp on both of them, we're going to want to pull it. Oops, not that button. There we go. Give it a nice rounded area. Then we're going to trace our side back and pull. Now, that I didn't get that quite right, and this one's actually like really off. And when you do it on Illustrator, it's really great because you can actually go back and fix all of those. So we're going to go to the point. Oop, not quite to the point. We want to go 3/4 to the point, and down. There we go. Now I want to actually go back in and fix some of these because some of them are quite off. That handle got out of handle. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. But, you know, that's okay. And we're going to pull that in just like so. And then we want to grab that anchor point again and round it off so that it matches. But before I actually move this off of that pattern piece, I want to bring this heart up to the top level. So I'm just going to do a copy front. Whoops. So I was not on the right tool. As you see, I've been running through these tools very quickly. I have a key commands and useful charts that you can grab down in the description. That if you are wanting to learn how to pattern in Adobe Illustrator this fast and anything, definitely make sure you grab the key commands and useful charts so that you can be going through these tools as quickly as I can, because I just am clicking from different tool to tool instead of having to search over on this sidebar all the time. I can just change really, really fast, which is really helpful when you're trying to pattern something and get it done. So then we got our, I want to actually group the heart to that one. And we're going to pull him up here. And then we're going to pull that one. There we go. So now we have our, let me subtract out of there just a little bit. There we go. So then we have our bodice all right there. So we have front, side, back, and back with our heart location. Yeah. So that's the bodice. Super exciting. I love it. And now we are going on to the sleeve. I love sleeves. Sleeves make me happy. I love weird, funky sleeves. This one's not going to be all that weird because I think it's just going to be like a small flutter sleeve, really. Because it really depends. Like, I knew I was really tight on fabric. So being tight on fabric means that you sometimes have to adjust your design to make it fit. And a lot of times I adjust my design to be either like a cold shoulder short sleeve because it's less fabric, or a tiny little flutter cap. So I'm going to draft, let's go in. I'm going to draft a little flutter sleeve. I am going to give myself, because I keep needing to, I'm looking at my design and I keep changing my mind, which is nice when you are patterning for yourself. You can always change your mind and figure out a different way to pattern it, or a different way to have the design come up. But when you're patterning for yourself, that can also be problematic because then you have to keep making decisions and sometimes you go back and forth a lot. But we are just going to go with a flutter sleeve. So I'm going to pen across, give myself a little bit of a short sleeve, and I'm going to cut away this other part. That way I don't have to deal with the bottom anymore. Then I'm going to drop some lines, so because I'm going to be doing a slash and spread. So we're going to do a 8-inch at 270. Did not go quite long enough, but that's okay. We're just going to grab and drag it longer. And then I'm going to transform it across. So I'm going to move it horizontal, 1, 0. And we're going to copy it. We're going to go 2 inches. Because I feel like I could do it the 1 inch and have that many slash and spreads, but I think it's going to be okay if I move it 2. And we want to do a copy. Yeah. Then we're going to put 2 more in. Whoops. Then we're going to go the other way. So now we're going to go -2. We're going to do a copy. I must have hit 0.2 because that was definitely not 2 inches. Move. I did hit 0.2, -2. And I'm on the wrong tool. Let's fix that. Transform, move, -2. And we want to copy it. There we go. Beautiful. So I have my sleeve now slashed, ready to get spread apart. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make sure there are 2 of those up on the top of those sleeves there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the right side of this sleeve first, I guess. So we're going to cut him apart there. We need to highlight, whoops. I want to highlight that one and cut him in half. There we go. Then I need to highlight everything I'm hoping to rotate, plus the top one there. Yep, I'm also going to give myself a guide first. So let's give myself a line, and I'm going to give myself, you know what, I'm going to do 1.5. That just helps give me a guide of how far I need to swing this over. When you're doing it by hand and papers, you can easily cut it apart and kind of slash and spread everything and then even it all out. When you're doing it on the computer, you kind of have to do it one at a time. So sometimes it's helpful to have I'm going to try 1.5 first. And then if you want to add a little bit more from there, there's ways to do that. I don't remember what I highlighted, so we're going to re-highlight to make sure I have everything that I want. I'm going to rotate from there. We're going to go, didn't get everything. Because, whoa. Control Z is your friend. And sometimes, some days you guys are besties. Today might be one of those days for me. So we're going to rotate. There we go. Everything's going with it like it should. And then I'm just going to pop it right to the edge of my guideline. There we go. So then I'm going to cut apart the next intersection. And this one. And then we want to make sure there's 2 on the top. And move my guideline over. And then we want to make sure we grab everything that we want to rotate. And we are rotating. No, I'm not quite on that point. There we go. And everything's moving. There we go. And that's probably a little bit too small because we're going to give me a little bit of a buffer there. And then the next one, I'm going to rotate this line so that it's 90 degrees this time. Gives me a little bit better of a sense of how far I've actually gone. So we're going to cut and cut. Wrong cut. Because it cut my top line instead of the bottom line, because even though they're on the same layer, the lines that are slashing and spreading my sleeve is actually what is on top. So it cuts the top line instead of the line you want. So if you want to make sure you're cutting the right line, you just have to make sure that you highlight that line first. Then we are going to, I don't think I got 2 on top here, so we're going to do that first. Then we're going to grab that one. We're going to rotate from that point. Doot, doot, doot. Didn't grab everything. Let's try that again. Rotate. Doot, doot, doot. There we go. And now we have our last one. Oh, see, it keeps wanting to cut. So let's get that again. Get that intersect. Well, I don't care if you cut that, but I definitely need that one cut, sir. And now that there we go. Like I said, some days it gets a little bit more cranky than others. Control Z, Control F. There we go. And, sometimes your fingers work a little bit better than others, I find. But maybe that's just me. So now we're going to, I have 2 there. Yep. So now we are going to rotate this last. Oh, did I not cut this top one? There we go. And then we want one of those. There we go. And we're rotating out. Whoops. Oh, it's because I grabbed that side. We want to grab this side. There we go. Now, the other thing that I could do, because I'm actually almost close to a half circle here, probably if I would have gone for the 2 full inches, I could have actually made it a full circle or a full half circle instead. But I think because I am tight on my fabric, I think I'm going to leave it at that. So now I have the front half done. I'm going to do the back half. So I'm going to copy front that. And we do the exact same thing over on the other side. And we want a guideline again. So we're going to give me a 1.5 at the opposite direction. Oh no, that's 180. We want 1.5 there and 180 there. And we definitely want that line filled. There we go. Now it's time to highlight everything. Make sure you grab that one. Rotate. Do, 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 do. Now that does give you a little extra room right there at the center front, but I always love that, or at the center of your sleeve. So if you have any questions about patterning in Adobe Illustrator, please let me know. I absolutely love it. It makes me very happy. And if you have questions on how to get started or anything, I would love to help you get started on your own patterning journey. And before I do that, I want to make sure I have 2 there. And top, rotate. Front, cut. It's some like patterning party music right now. I feel like I'm used to, I love listening to music or audiobooks. I'm a huge audiobook fan, actually. And so I listen to a lot of audiobooks when I pattern normally, which makes me very happy. We just did that one, so I'm going to move my line, rotate. I don't think I got 2 there. So we're going to make sure I have 2 there. I mean, technically, I guess, since I have the guidelines, it wouldn't have mattered because I knew the front of it would have been where I started. So you could have gotten away with it not being there. But I always like to make sure I have the 2. That way, if I ever want to go back and fix something, I can kind of see what I was doing and where all my slashing and spreading was and all that fun stuff. Then we're going to do another cut apart. We want 2 lines there. That one and that one. And rotate it out. There we go. Now that is basically what my sleeve is. That has almost no ease. Where's my little rendering? No ease up at the shoulder, but it will have a nice little flutter down at the hem. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to lock that layer, go to the top layer, zoom back into my sleeve, and pen it out. And go there. One thing I am going to do is I am going to just pop that up just a smidge, just to give me a little bit more ease in the cap. And that's just a, because of the lace and everything, something I'm going to do just to give myself just a little bit more ease. We're going to hit that center and give us a nice line, hitting all those different lines and back up the other side. It actually worked out perfectly first round. Love when that does it. Then you don't have to go back through and hit those anchor points. So we're going to move that guy up to the top there. There is my sleeve to go to the top of this. We are now moving on to the peplum of this cute little shirt. But before I move on to the peplum, I should actually probably do the belt. Because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take 1.5 inches off of these guys. And let's see here. Front. There we go. And now let's transform you. We're going to go horizontal 0, negative 1.5. There we go. And that's going to be my new guideline to move that to. Yep. Now I actually am going to rotate you since I want to go completely perpendicular up that line. So I'm going to get him re-centered. Let me drop my, well, no, that's fine. Never mind. But we are still going to get him up and down so that I can move that wrong pattern piece. We're rotating you. There we go. And then we're going to grab that guy front, and we're going to transform, move. We're going to go 0, 1.5. Do the same thing for the, not that tool. Going to do the same thing for this other one. Rotate him just a smidge. I am eyeballing this a little bit. Don't tell my old professor. We're going to copy front. I have 2 of those there now. Wrong tool. Just the bottom one. Transform, move. Negative 1.5. And last one. Transform, move. Okay, so that gives me that guideline for the belt that I'll have to actually go back and actually fully pattern that together. So we'll have to definitely go back and do that. But I am going to move on to the peplum next. So I think what I want to do, as I've been thinking about this, I know I have my peplum drawn in a single round thing, but I think I'm going to continue on with the princess seams a little bit. So yeah. So I'm going to have we'll go a 9-inch peplum. Yeah, we'll go a 9-inch peplum. So I'm going to jump back onto my drafting layer right over here. And then we're going to drop a line at 0.5 at 0. And we're going to move that little guy. We're going to go horizontal, -9. Oops, that was up. We want to go the other way. Move. We're going down 9. I still always get those confused. But that's half the fun, right? Oh, now we're going to grab this guy and we're going to do it at 180. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move him down 9, hit OK. And we have our guidelines. So I'm just going to grab him and pull him straight across, because for this first half of the peplum, that will be fine. For the outside ones, we're definitely going to want to make sure that we don't just go straight across, because 9 inches down this line is different than 9 inches down this line. And then I'm going to line a, whoops, cancel. I want to pin a line. And we're going to make sure it's doing an intersect through that line. So there's the start of my first peplum. Then we're going to go and go about 9 inches down this line here. So I'm going to cut this so that I can definitely give myself a measure. And let's start and see what that line is measuring. We're at 8.7. So right at that. So that actually might not be so curved. 9.5. 8.7, yeah. We want to go right in between. 9.06. That's pretty close. And we're going to do the other side as well. So we're going to cut. Is it already cut? Did I already cut that one? No. .94. Oh, wrong way. There we go. Then I should be able to, not quite. So I still am going to cut away the bottom part of these skirts so that I don't have to necessarily worry about them. So the other thing I'm going to do is continue my line drawing. That was not a line, that is an ellipse. Hit the right key. There we go. And again, we're going to go here. And yeah. Then I'm just going to go ahead and finish that. We want to get it a nice little curve. We will true that out at the next step. Too much. There we go. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually just going to trace over these guys instead of trying to reconnect them. So we want to have this one to be able to do a small slash and spread out to the far. And again, you'll want to make sure that you actually, true those up. Because if you leave them at those harsh points, you're not actually going to have the 90 degrees that you need to have a nice smooth stitch line. So you'll want to still true these up. There we go. And out. curve. On to the next one. So I would love to know if anybody has actually patterned in Illustrator before, or they're looking to learn. And if you were going to pattern in Illustrator, what would you pattern? It's always interesting to learn what people want to pattern, because everybody wants to do something different, I feel like. So I would love to know if you want to shoot me a comment and say hello and what you would want to pattern if you were going to pattern something in Illustrator for yourself. So there we go. And grab the front one and the back one. There we go. And I'm not going to have it go too crazy of a slash and spread on these, only because I only have 37 inches of fabric. So I want to make sure that it has a nice little floofy, but is also not going to kill my fabric length, that's for sure. So I'm going to do a single drop down the center front. Then we're going to do 2 down the side seam, or down the side front. And we actually want to go -2, 0. Copy. Let's go another 1/2 inch. So that if I get 0.5, there we go. I like those. That way it's kind of going out in thirds and I can slash and spread from there. And then again, I'm going to want 2 going down from the side back, and we're going to do the -2.5. Yeah. Copy it over. And then we're going to be splitting this guy right down, not that, splitting this guy right down the front center. There we go. Move him over just a smidge. There we go. And I think I'm going to add 2 inches to all of these. So I'm going to swing it out 1 inch at either side. So let's cut you apart. I'll copy front. And then we're going to give myself a guideline of 1 inch. Maybe guideline. Why aren't you giving me the... Not giving me what I want. There we go. 1 at 0. Not what I want. B. There we go. And we want that one. And we're going to rotate so that we get a nice smooth at our waist and a nice flutter at our hips. And then we're going to rotate the other one. We want that plus that. Got to make sure you have everything you're wanting to rotate. So there's that front. I'm going to grab my little guideline, move it to the next one, and continue the process. Cut it apart. We're going to copy front. And we're going to grab, rotate. And move to the other side. Grab all those and that. Oh, well. So I'm actually going to do a copy front so that I have two there. That way I always have that center line knowing what I rotated. You don't have to have that there. That's just sometimes a personal preference. Like if I leave this pattern for a little bit, I can go back and measure and be like, oh, well, what did I do? And then I can see what I did. So I always find that very helpful. Then we're going to get that to line up. We're going to cut. And now we're going to rotate everything plus that. Edge of the line. Then move him to the other side. Rotate. Like I said, if you are interested in learning how to digitally apparel pattern in Adobe Illustrator, I have a free key commands and useful charts that I will have in the comments below. That way you can move between the tools as fast as possible. I always find that's how I'm not actually going over here and searching for the tool every time that I need. I'm just using a key command to jump between tools. And I cannot tell you how much faster I am in drafting now that I have those memorized. It just helps so much. But they do take a little bit of time to get used to. And as you have even seen me do it, I still mess up like which tool I'm on, or you think you're on one tool and you're actually not, or you hit one tool and it's you hit one key command and you accidentally bring up a different tool, not fully thinking about it. But I cannot recommend getting to know those key commands fast if you are interested in learning how to draft digitally in Illustrator. And cut. And I think I only have the one there. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, we want to go this side first. There we go. Shift. And we're going to move that to the other side. Do the other side. Shift. Rotate it. There we go. Really hope that's going to give me enough flair. What I might do is I'll lay it out on my fabric digitally and kind of see if I have enough. And if I can add a little bit more, I actually might go back and do that. We shall see. So I have one more peplum to do. Let's see here. So we're going to cut. Come on. Cut. Cut. There we go. Move my guideline. Guideline. Oop, I had my guideline highlighted. Let's unhighlight that guideline. There we go. Awesome. So that's going to be the basics of my skirt. So then we're going to lock that layer, jump onto the next layer up, and we're going to pen them out. I hit the bottom there. Like so. There's one. Ooh, why'd you jump up there? And 2. Get back to the regular. So you can see I'm going to have to go back and fix that one. And we're going to do another one. Right on that anchor point. There we go. Last one. Well, we'll fix that anchor point. We'll start with fixing that anchor point. We want to get it. There we go. And then this is the other one that we definitely need to go in and fix because that one got pulled out way too far. And so did that one. There we go. Much prettier. So then we have those. We're going to grab them and drag them right up there. And then we will have, let me turn off those other ones. We have our pattern all done, basically. It's not fully done because I definitely still need to add the belt as well as finish truing up this pattern. But I'm super excited to have it started. If you're interested in learning how to digitally apparel pattern in Adobe Illustrator, make sure to check out those key commands. They will help get you going and drafting faster for sure. I hope you had a fun time patterning a Valentine's Day shirt with a cute little heart cut out in it this year. I'm super excited to be finishing up this pattern as well as then cutting it out and putting it together. Make sure to check back for how to put it together, hopefully sometime soon. It's always interesting how that goes. So I look forward to seeing you in some of my other videos. Happy patterning! Bye!